No one was beaten here. No blood was ever found. Yet people walked out mentally unrecognizable. This place did not need violence. There were no screams, no witnesses, only silence, and silence was the tool. Prisoners were placed alone. No voices, no sunlight, no sense of time. Days blurred into nothing. At first, they waited, then they counted. Eventually, they stopped counting at all because time had lost meaning. Some begged to be punished physically. Anything but the silence, because silence was slowly taking their minds apart. When the doors opened, freedom did not feel real. The damage was already done, and for many, it never healed. Some former inmates later admitted that they slowly forgot the sound of other human voices. Days passed without conversation. Weeks passed without eye contact. Even their own names started to feel unfamiliar. Memory became unstable. Moments blended together. Time no longer felt real. Prisoners began questioning their own thoughts. They wondered whether the voices in their head were memories or something else. Silence was no longer empty. It felt heavy, pressing, unavoidable. As if the walls themselves were listening. Food arrived without words. Orders came without emotion. Guards avoided eye contact. Human connection was treated as a weakness. A single mistake could extend isolation for days, sometimes weeks. There was no explanation, no warning, only rules. Some prisoners later said they stopped dreaming. Others dreamed constantly, unable to tell whether they were awake or still asleep. Reality felt distant. This was not a failure of discipline. This was the system working exactly as intended, breaking the mind without leaving a mark, silently. Over time, the silence changed people. Small sounds became unbearable. Footsteps, keys, breathing. Every noise felt like a threat. Some prisoners covered their ears. Others whispered just to hear a human voice, even if it was their own. Silence was never quiet again. The mind started creating patterns. Shadows moved when nothing was there. Walls felt closer. Hours felt endless. Fear became routine. Isolation was not meant to punish. It was meant to reshape behavior, to remove resistance, to make obedience feel natural. Isolation was not meant to punish. It was meant to reshape behavior, to remove resistance, to make obedience feel natural. By the time the doors finally opened, some prisoners no longer trusted freedom, because the silence had already done its job. Long after release, many survivors reported the same effects: insomnia, sudden panic, fear of silence. Quiet rooms felt threatening. Darkness felt alive. Even normal spaces triggered anxiety. Isolation followed them home. Psychologists later confirmed that prolonged isolation changes the brain. Memory weakens, emotions flatten, reality becomes unstable. The damage rarely showed on the body. No scars, no broken bones. Yet the impact lasted for years. In some places, these cells are still used today, hidden, unrecorded, away from public attention. Former staff later admitted they were trained to remain silent, no conversation, no empathy, because silence was part of the punishment. Silence leaves no evidence. It does not bleed. It does not scream. It simply reshapes the mind. For many survivors, freedom felt unfamiliar. Noise was overwhelming. Crowds felt dangerous. Normal life never fully returned. Some tried to explain what happened to them. Most could not. Because how do you describe something that slowly erased you? This is why experts argue that isolation is not correction. It is psychological warfare, designed to break without leaving marks. And the question remains, if silence can destroy a person, should it ever be used as punishment? If stories like this matter, subscribe. Because some histories are meant to be remembered. Some survivors developed long-term paranoia, always listening, always waiting for nothing. Others avoided silence entirely, sleeping with lights on, leaving televisions running. Noise became protection. Medical reports later described symptoms similar to trauma victims, but without a battlefield, without war. The mind was the battlefield, isolation was the weapon, and silence was the trigger. Many cases were never documented. No cameras, no records, only testimonies that were easy to deny. This is why these stories matter, because what leaves no scars is easiest to repeat. And the question remains, if silence can break the mind, should it ever be used as punishment? Some systems still believe so. Others are finally questioning it.